Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talking with Sal. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Christopher from Bionicdollagent on Instagram, and he's also on YouTube. How are you?
Hey, Sal, thank you so much for having me on your show. It is a complete honor to be here with you today.
Trust me, the honor is mine, and I've been talking to everyone about getting you on, so I'm glad you finally joined me, and
Yay!
it's really cool to interview you. You're in New York, right?
I'm sorry.
You're in New York, right? With
I
Kyle's.
am in New York and it is currently a heat wave.
Tell me about it.
Well, I'm over here trying to look cute with layers, but
No, I
it's
have my denim jacket too. I feel like that's a Latino thing, but I was
it is. It's like the go-to piece that just makes everything look good.
I love your sandalites. I was like, so, so let me take you back. I want to take you back to the beginning. You're Dominican, right?
Full grown, full breaded Dominican all the way, but
Right.
firstborn generation.
Oh, you're firstborn. Wow. So you speak Spanish and everything.
So, okay, that is it's an interesting topic because I could speak it, but I wasn't very well at reading it or writing it. I'm still not. My mom did put me in a Duolingo program.
Mhm.
And I just discovered recently while being in college that around my age group, that was a very new concept. So I actually didn't pick it up very well and I was taken out. So in school, I only did English. So most of my Spanish is all from home.
But that's good enough. That's great that you can conversate and talk
Yes.
with everyone. Have you ever considered doing videos in Spanish?
I haven't considered doing doll videos in Spanish, but there have been other fields and avenues that I am actually currently experimenting with in Spanish, I will say.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I love the Dominican accent, so it's like I want all of it.
It's so funny, and I think it has a lot to do with being firstborn generation. I have none in English at all. No one ever can pick it up. I always end up being very ambiguous, as people like to say in English, because I have no accent whatsoever. But as soon as my Spanish comes on, there is no denying where it's from.
You know that I actually noticed that your English, you have no accent from what I can hear.
Oh, there's none at all. It's just, I don't even, I've mastered the American way, I guess.
Oh yeah, because I don't hear it. But let me take you back a little bit. So you grew up in New York, right?
Mhm.
What was like that? What was that like? Because I didn't grow up in New York, obviously, but I feel like most kids back then, because you and I are close in age,
Yes.
like it was mostly playing outside and playing with your friends, and but I don't know what borough you're in, so I don't really know. So what was your experience like back then?
So, interestingly enough, the timing of this conversation, um, you can experience my childhood on the big screen right now because I am originally from Washington Heights.
Oh.
And very much of what the movie is very much what my childhood was. I definitely grew up in Washington Heights around the same era as Lin Manuel, as he is only just a few years older than us. So there was a lot of outdoor playing in the summer, I would say. And it is just an interesting melting pot. It really is the best way to put it, just because you kind of grow up with home. Your block is your home,
Mhm.
but then you're exposed to so many different things once you start growing up and start like exploring different parts of New York. But yeah, I would say what the movie shows is very much what my childhood was. You know, neighbors were taking care of me as babysitters, and a lot of fire hydrants in New York City were definitely the thing back then.
I love the fire hydrants.
Yeah.
So, if you were mostly playing outside, do you ever think about Barbie? Because I know that's the girl that we all go to, or what was up?
So I have a it's interesting because I had a beautiful relationship with her as a child. I actually um, was able to experience a lot of it because I was the only boy being raised in the midst of like six girls. My caretaker was my neighbor, and she had five daughters.
Wow.
And I have one biological sister. So I usually always say that I have six sisters because I grew up so closely with the girls. So Barbie and just doll playing was a very big part of my childhood because I was constantly around girls. And it was something that was, in a way, never really taken away from me. It was kind of always supported from everyone immediately close. It was kind of one of those things where I guess they're like, well, all he has is girls to play with, so what do you want him to do? And it's like,
Right.
well, better for me.
So you had access to dolls, you had access to traditionally like girl items.
Mhm.
So, because like a lot of times I hear you must be obsessed with Barbie, or you must be obsessed with shoes, you must be obsessed with fill in the blank because you didn't have it as a child, but you clearly did. So now I want to ask you, like, what got you into it as an adult?
Fashion has always been my driving force behind it. As a kid, I used to make clothes for my younger sister from the moment I was 10 and she was 5. I've always been someone who was interested in like construction and fabrics and kind of dressing people up. And that was always the kind of passion and joy behind having a Barbie, was being able to have a model that you can always dress and play with and that wouldn't talk back. I like the aspect of not having to talk back. Shout out to all the girls out there, but there was always an opinion. There's still always an opinion when you dress them. So that was kind of my thing that really kind of made me love them, was fashion and having that access to it. Um, Kind of a little bit more immediate than having to wait for a person.
That's true. So when was your first experience buying a doll as an adult collector?
Thankfully, I have a collection that I can go to. Because I'm horrible at years and I'm horrible at forgetting. And interesting enough, I was just thinking about this before we had a Zoom. I would say there was two starting points.
Mm-hmm.
One was when I started collecting my scenes for my sister, because technically I was buying them for myself, but I would buy them for her.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever the first my scene came out, I would say that was my beginning to collecting, although it wasn't immediate mine. And then I started collecting as an adult for myself with the Barbie basic line. That line was the one that I kind of was like, you know what, this is my thing. I need that and I need her, and you can't stop me. I have my own money now and I'm making it happen. So the Barbie basic line was my first collector item as an adult.
With the little black dress.
Oh, all the little black dresses. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I love that line too. I remember when it came out and everyone was so excited that all the old sculpts were coming back and they were only $20. Kind of like how everyone's going crazy with the current Barbie
Looks.
looks. Yeah, exactly.
I
So
mean, yeah, I hope that the Barbie looks has the same vibe as that collection, meaning like there's still very little known about the Barbie looks, but I hope if they're so basic in look, we have the accessories. Because I feel like that was the beauty with the original Barbie basic, was that although she was in this little black dress, we got these three different accessory packs to really create our own.
mhm.
And that was my real kind of like, I think, go get moment was, oh my God, I can style them, I can play with them, and I can make them my own once I accessorize them. So fingers crossed for the Barbie looks if that's what they're trying to achieve.
And it was a line that it was meant for you as a grown person because they were very sleek and very classy.
Yes. They were very my motif. I love the little black dress. I just those girls. I also love the model muse body. I am actually not the biggest made to move body in Barbie. She to me was always my fashion model, and she looked best at Model Muse, my personal opinion. So that line at the time was just perfect. That line actually is what started my Instagram account.
That's what I was going to.
Yeah. I was like reading your minds out. We're here.
No, we're connecting. So, so you started your Instagram account around the time that the line came out, or how did it work?
Shortly after the line came out, yes, because collecting the dolls, and I remember around that time, it's so weird to think of that time in life and then the current time, because I remember having a digital camera, which I don't own anymore. And I remember taking the photos in my digital camera and remember kind of like creating photo shoots with my room at the time. So I think shortly after the second basic line was released around the time that I started Instagram. And I only started Instagram because I discovered the dog community on Flickr. but I was not as active on Flickr. For some reason, that always seemed complicated to me, so I just went straight to Instagram.
That's good though that you got to skip Flickr or you just went straight to Instagram. But I feel like Flickr was really good for like, I don't know if I'm honest with you. Sometimes it feels like Instagram is very competitive and everyone's just trying to be like the best or like the most popular, the most likes. And like back then with Flickr, it was more of a community.
Mhm.
So that's the thing I miss about it. But I also love Instagram. I feel like everything has its pros and cons.
Correct. I'm a little sad that I didn't get to experience the community aspect of Flickr because I feel like I joined around the time where people were starting to transition over to Instagram. So I wasn't able to build those relationships there. But I agree that Flickr always felt a little bit more homey, and it just, it was the place that you went to get inspired, or the place that you went to be like, oh my god, other people are taking photos of their dolls. I'm not as weird for doing it and thinking like no one else is doing it. But yeah, that was definitely my introduction to it all.
It's funny how, I don't know if you agree, but it's really funny how when we started, well, for my experience at least, you do think that it's weird and you're like, oh, is there something wrong with me? And then you see thousands and thousands of people that are doing it too. What was your reaction to that once you realized it?
It was, if I'm totally honest, a big like F you moment to the world. And I was like, hallelujah, I can do this freely and I don't care about anyone. Because I also remember probably discovering Instagram and discovering Flickr. It was around the time that I started telling my friends that I was collecting dolls. I feel like at first, when I was collecting as an adult, I was very happy that I was able to just buy them myself and collect, but I wasn't too sure how to bring up the conversation
Hmm.
with like immediate friends. And I think at some point with discovering social media, I was like, F it. I would tell my friend, like, I gotta go to the toy aisle in Target because I need to go look for a new doll. Um, but that also allowed me to see how supportive my friends were. And they would really be like, hey, I'll come with you. I even had a friend once who, up to recently, would drive me to Walmart just like to fashion packs. And they had no interest in dolls. They were just down for the ride. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's really funny you mentioned that. And I've always told people, like, be yourself 100%. If your friends are going to be shady about it and they're not going to support you, you need to get them out.
Oh, yeah. It's so true. Because I say this a lot, and I have conversations with other people in the dog community. And I was like, I feel so spoiled because I've been able to have very immediate close friends and family members that are constantly always asking me like, what am I doing with the dolls, or like to see the progress, are very supportive. For a few years my sister would buy them for me for Christmas.
Hmm.
So I've been very fortunate that everyone in my immediate circle has been very open and very supportive of just my collecting, and my hobby, really, in a way.
And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of us have close relationships with other doll collectors because we get each other.
Hmm. It is. And I think I've realized that through my friendship with Kyle 2.6.
Mhm.
Um, I've realized how a lot of my kind of reserved from the dog community, a lot of times the fact that I have so many people in my real life that are so supportive, that unlike other people that I've seen on the dog community, I don't always go to social media to talk to people because I have so many people in IRL to talk to. But I've realized with the dog community, a lot of times they don't have someone immediately close, or they don't have someone who they can have that conversation with. And going to social media and making these friends online allows them to feel a little bit more comfortable and allows them to see, like, you know what, there's someone out there, even if they're not here right now, there's someone out there. So I've definitely been able to see the difference of how blessed I am to have that in IRL. But I do sometimes feel like it's kind of held me back from talking to more people online because I just sometimes feel like I don't know how to start the conversation because I have so many people to talk to about it. And I'm like, I'll just post a photo and I'll be about my way.
But I feel like you're at our age, I think we get to the point where it's like quality over quantity. And once we find those few special people within the community or whatever, it's not that we're not open to meeting new people, but it's like you dig what you dig and you get what you get. So
It's
I
true.
get it.
It's true. I actually just recently took an Instagram hiatus and I've realized my immediate group of like close social media people noticed and would ask Kyle where I was or how I was doing. And that was a really nice kind of like wake up call of like, there's a reason why these are my immediate doll friends, because they've acknowledged and noticed that I was gone or they were asking about it. But because of our age, I think that was another reason why I was like, you know what, I have to remove myself because I need to remember what the joy is again. I feel like I was starting to lose it, as you were saying earlier, with the issues with likes and follows and being validated. After a while, it really gets to your head when you start seeing all the cattiness that kind of happens, because unfortunately, there's a lot of it. So I did have to remove myself for a while and remember that why I got on was to share the joy of just taking a photo, not to seek any kind of following or validation behind it. And also, like you said, remember, I've made my community within the community, and I'm very thankful for those people.
Me too. And Kyle is an amazing guy. Whenever we talk about you, we refer to you as Dominicano.
I appreciate it because, interestingly enough, growing up in New York and looking the way that I do, it's not something that's actually said about me constantly. I do not get confused for Dominicans at all in person. So I appreciate the nickname.
That's so crazy. And like I think a lot of it has, not to get off track, but
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it has to do with my country, uh, with Mexico and the telenovelas and the soap operas and like the TV shows. They usually hire light skinned Hispanics or Hispanics that can pass as Italian or white. So, with movies coming out like Washington, like the one you were talking about, um, it's finally nice to know like we come in all sizes and shapes and colors. So, child, like,
Yeah, I remember being in high school and I remember people think that I was Puerto Rican because they would be like, you're too light to be Dominican. That's not what a Dominican is. And I was like, okay, whatever floats your boat. I also remember working in the beauty industry here in New York and working in salons. And I remember someone at the front desk said in a survey that I was black and white because I had no accent. And I was like, okay, that's not a thing. I could see it, but it's not a thing. I think I look very Spanish to most people. So I appreciate the nickname. It's where we were getting here with it.
or Escuela Dominicano, and it's like I don't know. It's really nice to have like your small group of friends who get you, who understand you. So I only think Kyle's one of them, and you're lucky to have a friend like him because he's really nice.
The relationship with Kyle, and we're going to be on this topic for a minute, is utter bliss and joy and a blessing. And one of those things that you think about constantly, just like, I got a little lucky. And I say a little lucky just to kind of be humble because I'm very lucky to be able to have that. I remember talking to other people in the doll community, and they're just like, my closest doll friend is like 3 hours away in a car. Although technically Kyle is really far by car. I actually should say that. But we have public transportation in New York, so that makes it easier.
Mhm.
But I've noticed how just it's a blessing to have a creative partner, but it's also a blessing to have someone you can have that communication with regularly and actually be able to meet up with. Because I've noticed that as something that it just feels your joy in a different way. And I know a lot of us have been talking about it with convention recently and how, we're sad that it's virtual again, but we're excited to have it because that was the moment. And I will speak for myself for my first convention. It felt like I was going home. It felt like, for the first time I was getting in a space where we were all going to have the same interest. Maybe not the same point of view, but at least the same interest.
Mhm.
And that feeling is just, it probably is really hard for the people to go through something like a pandemic and not have a doll friend and be able to have the hobby, but there's always something that having an actual human being softens certain things with.
No, I totally agree, and it's funny how you say that it's like homecoming because I that's totally how I felt it. It's like no one's gonna give you crap for collecting. Maybe the some of the husbands of the people that go there, but at the same time they're married to someone like that, so they're used to it, to seeing all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's great conventions in person, and then seeing people from like you're not far, you're in New York, but like I haven't been to New York in a while because of the pandemic. So it's like seeing people from New York, seeing people from the West Coast, seeing people from Europe, Asia, everywhere. It's like this is the only time that you get to see them in person. So I don't know about you, but I'd rather it be in person.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I understand that we're still very, even though things are getting lifted now, as a whole, everything hasn't really passed realistically. And I understand that when you're planning big events, it's really hard to just overnight be like, we're doing this. So as sad as it is, I'm like, you know what, I get it. And
Mhm.
just praying that next year it's in person.
Me too. I'm hoping. I'm hoping for an in-person convention. I just want to see all my friends. I want to hang out. I want to see the dolls at the museum. I think that's the
Yeah,
best part. Um, and I don't know. I miss it. I miss it a lot.
I feel you and I agree. It's so hard to explain the feeling for someone else until you get there. And I think you try to help me and Kyle for our first because we were talking to you a lot via DM about us going. And also, you did actually help us a lot because you put us with a great table host, by the way. Shout outs to Lenny. Um, but it's one of those things where you can dream it, but once you're there, it's so hard to describe the magical feeling that comes over you and just the joy and peace that you feel by just seeing everyone there.
I kind of feel like that's probably what it's like for children to go to Disneyland. I don't know if it's a good comparison.
It is. I mean, as a child that's gone, I will agree that it is a very good comparison.
You know, I haven't been, and now that I'm older, like I'm not as tempted as I was like when I was a little boy, but I'm guessing that's the kind of feeling that you probably get.
Yeah. And I would say as an adult, I would support you going even more than a child.
Oh, really?
Yes, I feel like as an adult, just like with collecting, there's a freedom at Disney that you have because you don't have to wait on a parent. So you could do and go wherever you want. And a lot of the rides are actually more for adults than they are for kids. Um, so I am a big supporter of adults going back to places they weren't able to experience as a kid because it's just therapeutic and it just brings a different aspect of joy, especially as a creative. I feel like Disney was such a route for a lot of us creatively
Hmm.
that being to experience that as an adult is kind of just like it's another coming home moment, but it's a bigger boost of creativity, I think, when you're there in person.
I
So I say go for it if you
Well, not
can.
with Disney because I haven't been to Disney, but like other things, like even going to like a Barbie like shop, it's like
Oh. So as we mentioned, I'm from New York, and I have to say, around the time that my scene was out, I was in high school. Yeah, I was in high school and I went to high school in Times Square, which leads me to I would go into the Toys R Us in Times Square on a regular basis. And that feeling of that Barbie house can no one take that away from me. It was magical. And I lived there mostly every afternoon just because I wanted to be in the Barbie house in real life. I knew nothing new was on the shelves, but I just wanted to be in the house. So that was another kind of beautiful thing of growing up in New York was I had access to such an iconic thing that was living there for a long time, and I had pretty much premier access because I went to high school in Times Square. So I would just cross the street and go to Toys R Us on the afternoon and just be like, I'm at the Barbie Dream House.
are you a Mariah Carey fan?
I am not a Mariah Carey fan because I am slightly on the younger wave. So I'm on the follow up from Mariah Carey, which is Christina Aguilera.
Oh, okay. I get that.
Yeah,
No, it's because she has a song called Can't Take That Away From Me. That's why I was wondering if you were like referencing her.
I was not, but funny enough, I know that they filmed that in Washington Heights.
Hmm.
The things that you learn from growing up in New York and the things that you hear from like the grapevine when you're certain industries, it's like you know so many random facts as I know that they filmed You Can't Take That Away From Me in Washington Heights.
I just can't picture going to high school in Times Square. That place is so crowded.
If
Like,
I ever, become a filmmaker or anything of that nation, I feel like you're onto something and it should probably be something on the big screen. Because the only thing I can refer my high school experience to is the original Fame movie.
yeah.
Because I went to performing arts high school in Times Square.
Mhm.
Um, So it was very eclectic. And being able to go to school in such a busy hub of the world just added to that aspect of culture shock and exposure and just really being able to see everything firsthand and experiencing it as well.
I'm I'm in shock. That place, and I went during Christmas time, which was probably worse.
Mm, I ironically don't remember Christmas, but it's because I had such a I went to high school in such a pivotal moment in the American history.
Mhm.
I was a freshman for 9/11. So I think that period stands out in my head of my high school experience, as well as TRL. I would go to TRL right after school and we knew the production assistants. We would not stand online from my school. We would just kind of go over to the building and they would let us in. Um, so I remember things like that, things that I just knew were so rare and uncommon experiences from being a New Yorker and going to school in Times Square.
That's so cool. So you got to meet a lot of celebrities and stuff. Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And you had to go hang out at the Barbie house every other day.
Either at lunch or after school, the Barbie house and I were very good accommodated.
Ah, memories, memories.
Yeah, literally memories.
Oh, well, I'll definitely have to. If they ever make a movie about your life, I'll definitely be watching it, and I'll be really curious to see how they recreate the Barbie dream house.
So would I. I mean, the Barbie Dream House, and I think another big staple that I'm sure you would remember was the Virgin Megastore.
Hmm.
Those two, I mean, ah, we had such a good teen years.
Everything's like way better in the 2000s, but
Oh
that's
yeah, oh
another
yeah,
that's another egg basket that we can.
yeah.
But yeah. So let me take you back again. So you were collecting Barbie collector, basics. When did integrity thing happen?
Kyle,
Oh, Kyle got you into them?
yes. I roughly met Kyle. I want to say 4 or 5 years now.
Mm.
Again, my numbers are horrible. And if you ask him, we're both on the same wave pattern, but we don't really know. So around the time I met him, he was already collecting integrity. And I can tell you that the reason I had not started was because I was so spoiled by being able to see things at toy stores
Mhm.
that it stopped me from purchasing integrity because it was only online. And I, at that point, was like, I need to see it. I need to touch it. I need to know that I like it before I do it. So Kyle kind of gave me a hybrid. He gave me an Integrity Toys body with like a Barbie head as my first kind of like introduction. And then after, I, ah, once you have an Integrity Toys body in your hand and you yourself are growing up, there's just no going back.
I
And
agree.
that one body just, it created a storm that I'm so thankful for.
So you joined the Double D Club right after?
Literally, I think Kyle gave me the hybrid as like a Christmas gift, and
Mhm.
I joined that. Back then it was in February, so I joined literally like 2 months after.
You don't remember the year, do you?
I don't remember what year, but it does go back to my YouTube channel. So I think I just celebrated, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years on YouTube, which means I've been a W Club member now for about 3 years. I started the channel with my first ever lottery doll from Integrity Toys. So I started the channel pretty much following my Integrity Toys journey.
So you probably started or joined at the same time as Kyle then, because I think he said like 2018 or.
Yes, we both actually joined together for the first time.
Oh, you look at
Mhm.
that. So it was 2018, and then you
Yeah,
went and ventured it right away.
I think we went to convention the year after that. Because I remember the first year was the year that they had I forget what convention that was, but I remember us seeing the dolls because we were members, but not being able to purchase a lot of them because we weren't at convention. And we kind of told ourselves that next year we're going. So we went our second. Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's adding up now.
And you were really lucky that it was so close to y'all.
Yes, which is another reason why I will say I pressured him Because he was like, I don't know if we're gonna make this work. I was like, yes, we are. It's in Maryland. We'll take the bus. It's not a problem. And it really wasn't a problem. It was a really nice bus ride.
No, it was really close.
Yeah.
And the great thing about being able to drive, like my one of my best friend's friend was one of my friends now, literally picked us up on the way there and was like, okay, let's go. And I was like, such a blessing when you can drive.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would love for them to have it in New York, but because of the what's that regulation? The union. Because of the union, it's really hard for them to have it there. And they have to move. About the union, it's crazy and it's really complicated.
Yeah.
But I would love it for it to be New York or Atlanta. I think Atlanta would be like perfect.
I mean, secretly, I would prefer Atlanta because I have family there, so it'd make it so much easier for me.
Mm.
But I also know with New York, outside of unions, there's just so many more complications when it comes to cost and when it comes to just hotels and airlines. Because it's just simply New York, everything gets hiked up so much more that a lot of times it just doesn't seem feasible or even like something to work towards. It's really bad how much people just want to, hike the price to anything because you're saying New York.
Yeah, getting that $8 coffee. But I guess if anything, they would probably do it in like Jersey City or something like that.
Hmm. Which I would, just hop on a ferry and go right over.
Oh, good. I can stay with you. No, for real. I would love it in New York or Atlanta, but definitely in person. I'm over the online convention.
Yeah. I feel like they did their best, but there was just so many things that there was just so many things. I just felt like they tried to like make up by doing a lot of different kind of little groups online, and it kind of made things a little bit more overwhelming and a little bit more complicated, I think.
No, I totally agree with you. It's just so much better in person. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that they
Yeah.
get back to normal-ish by next year, and then we'll have it in person, and we can hug each
Yeah,
other and just celebrate. It's gonna be like a big deal, I think.
did really well. Yeah.
If anything, I do have a feeling that it will be back to in person next year.
I was just at a club on Friday, so if anything is how I'm experiencing in New York in person, oh, we'll be in person next year at a convention for sure.
What club are you at?
No, I went like clubbing, like I went dancing on Friday, and it was it was like New York is back is kind of what it felt like. My experience on Friday was very much like my experience was 2 days before we went into lockdown, which is just carefree people. And I was like, hey, if this is where we're at now, then we're heading in the right direction.
Hmm. I did see the fireworks and everything when New York reopened, so that must have been fun.
We'll see what happens, but I'm with you on a in-person convention is a must.
Yeah, so you can blog and then you can make a YouTube video about it.
I actually really enjoyed being kind of like outside of my room for that convention and blogging at the hotel lobby. I remember being super shy because I was still really new to YouTubing at that moment. And I was like, are we really going to do this at a lobby? Like, it's going to be okay. Once again, blessings to have a friend because I had support and I had help. But it was so much more fun to like get the doll in person and be able to react to her right there, and share her on a YouTube platform, and kind of have that moment immediately. I've also realized now with our online convention, because they've arrived so like scattered, it was a little harder to, I think, keep the interest on like which doll was from a convention. So I've noticed that as well. When you're able to have them a little bit more cohesive with the videos, people get a little bit more excited.
That's true. That's super true. And what you said about having a first hand reaction is also very true because I get it. Trust me, I totally get it that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, so it was it was understandable that those arrived so late. But like by the time that I got them, I was like, oh okay, well, yeah.
Exactly. It was one of those feelings like I was excited to have new dolls, but it was almost like a pre-order, where you see the doll, you're excited to get her, but it's been so many months now that you're just like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna now do what I was gonna do, but there's an adrenaline rush of being in the ballroom and getting her with everyone else and feeling that energy and being like, oh my God, I'm not waiting for something and I've never seen her before. That that's I think the biggest feeling that you can't describe. Because yeah, the convention, because it's virtual, really felt like we were just back at an email form and we were just getting an email. We're like, okay, cool, she's coming. Yay. But
Like an online
oh
now.
yeah.
I get it. But hopefully this year will be online and then next year it'll be back to normal. I know it sucks because a lot of our international friends can't go, but at the same time I really miss seeing everyone and
Hopefully by next year there can. I've been keeping up with a lot of the travel lists because I wanted to leave the country and go to Europe. So as of now, it seems like a lot more countries are starting to open up. So definitely, hopefully, by the time we have an in-person convention, a lot more of our like international collectors will be able to join us here.
well I was even telling Jason from JK Designs to well that it would be a really good kind of like a rule to implement to have require everyone to be vaccinated to attend the convention. I think that would be a good rule to have, and I wouldn't mind doing it. Or don't get vaccinated and go at your own risk. But I think that with taking measures, I think it'll be fine. It's just hard because conventions are always so crowded. But I feel like a lot of people are gonna have to like just get into the grind again soon.
Yeah, I agree, and definitely, because it'll be so far now from what I would consider the hype. I consider a lot of this like a hype. Like I just feel like it's very current, so it's very hypey. Um, that I feel like by then we should be a lot more relaxed and we be able to actually just enjoy the moment in person and kind of just be in that moment and enjoy that. And we won't. I feel like by then we won't have that worry anymore of who's vaccinated or who's not. Like my mother likes to say, there's been plenty of pandemics in the past. We're just currently living in one that we've never experienced, but those before us have already been through most of this. It's just we're just handling it differently, and we have different tools to our advantage now to add more pressure to it, I guess you could say. But
Definitely.
all hope to a very carefree and beautiful experience at our next live convention because we are manifesting it,
Bring that energy. Bring that energy.
bringing it positive and joyous.
So let me ask you, when did the YouTube channel start? It was around that time, right?
Mhm. So my first YouTube doll was the Agnes from the first boudoir collection. That was a lottery doll.
Mm.
And I love the story and I share it a lot and I actually keep it like as a regular reminder of the power of manifestation. Funny because I just said manifestation for the convention. Um, I remember joining a few of the lotteries for that boudoir collection, and I remember kind of like not winning them. And it was my first year, and I was like, "What's going on? This is so heartbreaking. Why am I not winning?" And then that Agnes, the photos came out, and I was like, "Okay, I want this one. I'm going to get this one." And I remember kind of like putting a little piece of paper under the candle and kind of like just being like, "This doll is going to be mine." And I remember saying, if I win this doll, I will start this YouTube channel. And I remember saying that out loud because a lot of my close friends and family were like, how are you not on? This makes no sense. You seem like the person that would have a channel. How do you not have a channel? And I remember being like, I don't think I have anything to say to have a channel. And I was like, but hey, if I get this doll, that will be my channel. I will react to dolls and I will unbox them on the channel. And lo and behold, I won. So I had to keep my end of the bargain and I started the YouTube channel. And Agnes was my first YouTube video.
Wow. So it really came out as a promise, and it just worked its way up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I also remember telling myself around the time that I won the Agnes, I was at a different place mentally. And I also just feel like with anything social media now, you have to mentally prepare yourself before doing it. And I think with YouTube, there's an added pressure because your face is being seen on a regular basis and you're uploading stuff. And I, by nature, am a very sensitive person. So I knew by that time I was ready to deal with whatever would come my way, let it be a negative comment or not. Obviously, there's still moments where they hit you. You are human, and it's just undeniable. But I do remember by that point feeling a little bit more mentally ready to handle whatever would come from it. And I remember in the past not joining that platform because I wasn't mentally ready to handle whatever would have been thrown at me, comment wise, or just what things would be said.
I didn't know that you got hate comments.
I recently did, just a few months ago, was kind of like my first shocking one. But I come from the music industry. That's
Mhm,
kind of like where I was for a while as a teenager.
mhm.
And a lot of those comments from being in that industry about looks and then weight and being gay affect you and really tear down your insecurities. So I just feel like I wasn't in a place to be so open about something, because I was still healing from a lot of that trauma from that experience. But I just recently received a hate comment, and it wasn't so much about like the dolls. It was really more about like my opinion about the dolls, which I thought was so weird because I was like, I was just sharing mine. So the fact that you're attacking my opinion just seemed weird because I'm not saying that my opinion is the only opinion. I'm specifying that it's mine and you can have your own. But yeah, that was a very negative point of view too. But I was able to kind of just let it kind of fly out and deal with it and move on.
Do you feel like a lot of those comments are always from on an on an on an it's a hard word when you're Spanish. Anonymous.
Yes. Um, I don't remember anymore because I feel like I looked at that person's page and I don't think they were anonymous.
Mhm,
But it wasn't someone that I know off of like Instagram.
mhm.
And I say that because I feel like a lot of the people that I know comment on my YouTube channel are people that I actually know on Instagram. But this particular person, I honestly don't remember if they were, if they weren't, but I have a feeling like they weren't. I feel like they might have had a very open YouTube channel that they were like actively subscribed to the people's things. I just honestly feel like that person, particularly that day, was bored, and I was their chosen punching bag.
Mhm.
Um, I was probably the wrong punching bag that day, but things happen. And I think with social media, you have to remember that you don't really ever know what someone else is going through. And a lot of people use it differently. And unfortunately, a lot of people still do use it more for harm than they do for good.
That's true. Because I don't post a lot on YouTube because I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do unboxings. I'll be lucky if I can get a break to open my dolls on the weekend or something. But when I do post, I have gotten a lot of hate comments. Well, not a lot, but some hate comments about my boys or yeah, it's usually my boys. Like, oh my god, you sound so gay, or like you're so gay, you sound like a girl, like whatever. And I'm like, okay, but say it to my face. I'd be glad to take you seriously. You said it to my face. And like, I heard this somewhere, I don't remember where, but you really have to take comments from who they come from.
Yeah,
And if you're not gonna have the balls to say something to someone's face, then there's no point on taking you seriously.
correct. And it's interesting that you bring up the voice, because it was probably something that I was insecure about because I still get called ma'am and miss when I call places.
Mhm.
A lot of people are constantly like, your voice doesn't match your look. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you there because it is what it is. Um, and it's not something that I have gotten, interestingly enough, but I thought would be. But I agree with you where it is a very good reminder that there is no need to take that seriously if they weren't willing to say it in your face. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if they just want to hide behind something else, that means that they're just trying to egg something on. They actually don't have the balls to actually go through with anything.
Well, not to get off topic, but I feel like even people that may have had said some nasty things about me, and within the adult community, um, they didn't have the guts to tell me in person during convention. So, so like you said, a lot of people feel really powerful behind a computer screen, but that's not reality. And I'm glad that you're able to remind yourself that that's something completely different and that, like you said, these are people that are probably just really frustrated. But I wanted to ask you that because you're really active on YouTube.
It's so interesting you say that I'm really active because I'm like, I haven't posted in so long, although it's been like 2 weeks. Um, and that's something else that I've learned just with social media, or with me in particular. I'm one of those people that I can only kind of do one thing at a time.
Mhm.
And for some reason, the YouTube platform has been a lot more welcoming, I would say, for me, that I seem to put a little bit more energy there than I do on Instagram. I've kind of, I think as I've gotten older, gone with what feels better and not with so much what drains me. And I've come to realize the YouTube platform for me works a lot better. And I think it's really just I enjoy talking. And I'm not a big like messenger, which is why I'm really bad at Instagram. I'm not really good at starting conversations via messages, but I love like a face to face or a Zoom or things of that nature. So YouTube allows me to just kind of talk it out.
To get that feelings out,
Yeah.
those feelings out. No, I totally agree with you, and I'm totally with you on doing what feels right. I used to have a friend a long time ago that told when I told him I was like, I really want to start doing YouTube videos, but like people are really mean and like they'll leave like a nasty comment talking about my voice again or something. And like, well, maybe you shouldn't do YouTube video. Maybe you should do something that you're more comfortable in, that it's safer for you. But he knew I really wanted to do it, so it's like you should go with what you feel comfortable with, but at the same time, if you're really passionate about something, you should go for it.
Yeah. There's a very thin line between, and I think we're currently in a day and age where we're learning this. Especially our generation group has really worked really hard at having these conversations and working through it. There's a very thin line of knowing what passion is and wanting to work something out, but also knowing when to stop because it's just not healthy. So it's one of those things where like it's good to push yourself to want to work through something, but
Mhm.
there needs to be a line where you're like, I can't go further than this because then I'm just hurting myself. Um, because some things are just not meant to work out, and that's just simply how they are. And I've just come to notice when things are aligned for you, the path opens up a lot further and a lot clearer with a lot more passion than they do when it's not something you should be doing. I've I just really feel like I've experienced that in so many different places where I've wanted something and I've worked really hard for it and I haven't gotten it. But then when I look at something else that I've done and I'm like, well, that was so much easier. It's very much like, that's because it was meant to be. So there's a thin line between kind of working through it and then also not pushing yourself too hard.
Well, it's funny you say that. It brings me back to that meme of the girl who was asking God for a sign. Like, God, if he's not the one, please send me a sign. And then he's in a big banner and say he's not the one. Well, I don't care because I don't know how to read.
And there's a lot of people like that, ironically enough. You're just like, okay, girl, do you, boo? Because if you know you want to leave, and I've experienced this with a friend, I was like, if you know you want to leave, you don't need a reason. You already know it, which means at that point, it's more about trusting yourself and knowing yourself than it is about seeking validation somewhere else. And I think that's the biggest lesson there is the fact that, like, if you know something, believe that you know it and go with that feeling instead of looking for someone else to kind of confirm it or smooth it out for you.
Yeah, and don't let anyone tell you that you have a funny voice. Because funny you say that, like a lot of people on Instagram are like, I love your voice. It's so sweet. It's so cute. And it's like, it's kind of like back to the whole dating thing. When something's meant, like you said, when something's meant for you, it's meant for you. And the right people and the right person, it's gonna take something that other people might hate on as a great asset that you may have.
Yeah. Then it's actually also, I believe, a bigger thing of just kind of loving and knowing yourself and trusting that, you know what, I am going to be the best version of myself and I'm just going to invest in me the best way possible because I know doing that will bring my highest joy, which was then attract the positive joys as well.
Yeah. And I feel like what you're doing with YouTube and, with social media brings a lot of joy to a lot of people that like want to see the unboxings, they want to see your face smiling and opening them. So, like, You know that like you make people happy, right?
I it's it's an interesting so thank you because it always takes me aback. That's kind of where that moment was. And I didn't really know that until convention, to be honest with you, because in convention, so many people came up to me in person and were like, I follow you on YouTube and I would love your videos. And I remember just being at convention and being like, oh my God, this is real. People actually watch my channel. Because, there's that weird thing with YouTube where like you upload the videos and you see the numbers go up, but you don't know who's watching, and you're kind of just producing something because you're like, okay, well, it's moving and it's doing well, and I'm getting good comments. But then when you actually see people in person and they tell you in person, and kind of like we were just saying, when people have the guts to tell you something in person, it really means so much more. And that was the first time that it hit me that people were actually enjoying it and that it made their day to, you know, experience one of my videos. And I think something with my videos as well is I've always done my best to share my joy. The
Hmm.
reason I started the channel was to share my excitement for a journey on a new avenue of collecting. So at no point do I ever want it to be a place of hating on a designer or hating on a manufacturer, because the point of starting that channel was to open myself to a community that was like-minded. So joy is definitely the word that we always want to keep in the forefront when recording the videos.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's funny you mentioned that because I feel like a lot of people will watch your videos and like you said, not necessarily comment, but they are watching. So keep doing it.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I feel like a big key to YouTube success is just to be really consistent. Well, I feel like that's with every social media outlet, but you're definitely doing it. And like you said, you were taking a social media break to like work some things out, and that's normal too. But just know that you're appreciated and that people like you and they like to watch your work.
Thank you. I wish it was more consistent. And I try in every video to remind people that we collect a certain brand that we don't have access to immediately.
Mhm.
But I'm currently thinking of other things to be a little bit more consistent.
Mhm.
Because I definitely want to grow the channel in different ways, but it's currently all doll related. So this summer should be very interesting.
We'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard with the delays, with so many people not getting their dolls, and they're expensive too. Like I don't get them for free. I don't know about you. We have to pay for our dolls, and it gets expensive.
I'm
So
not there yet, Sal. I'm not there yet.
yeah, I wish I was, but it's definitely harder than just picking up a fashionista at Walmart and doing a review like every other day. It's hard, but
Yeah, and I've also realized recently with a lot of the newer Barbies that are out, um, Integrity doesn't have that fan base online. I feel
mhm,
like a lot of the Integrity collectors, especially from what I noticed on a convention, are a little bit older. So social media is not their go-to. Because you look at the reactions of these Barbie videos on a fashionista, and you're just like, a little moment of comparison. And then you're just like, wait, how did she? But it's not. And then you're like, oh, it's Barbie. Just the word Barbie changes everything in social media. Um, and yeah, you just have to remember also what your lane is, what your feel is, and remember why you're doing it. And I've had those moments a lot because unfortunately social media makes us compete one way or the other, even when you don't want to. But I've had those moments. I'm like, you know what? This is what I like and this is what I'm collecting currently and this is what I want to share. I'm not gonna just go do a video on Barbie because she's gonna bring me in numbers, because it's honestly not guaranteed she's going to, especially when I'm not actually currently collecting her. So that's been something I've also seen recently where I'm beyond grateful and thankful for the views that I have because I know that the integrity community is not that big on social media.
mhm.
Um, and currently that's where my joy of collecting is.
No, I'm totally with you on that one, and it's like I know that my accounts will be a lot bigger too with Instagram being so big on Barbie. I know that if I started collecting Barbie or like what's that other brand from MGA?
Oh, LOLs or Rainbow High.
Rainbow High. If I collected Rainbow High, I know that my numbers would go up a lot, especially if I made fashions for them, but I don't want to sell out. I
And
love
that's exactly the feeling. I don't want to sell out because the reality is doing that for us is a sellout because it just seems like we're doing it for numbers. And it's a constant battle of, I like it. I agree with you. But at the same time, it's not my thing. And as a New Yorker, I do not have space. I tell this to a lot of people. I have to be very particular with what I collect. I don't have the luxury of a doll room or a closet, so I can't constantly be getting all these different lines. Because honestly, I will say, out of the dolls that are out right now, Rainbow High would have been my go-to. They're just doing a great job for the price point and just for the currency with the fashion. But I always think of where the hell am I going to put them if I get them?
especially with those hands. I mean, I know I'm one to talk, but no, I totally agree with you, and that's a great thing that you do what you love, regardless of how much it could affect your numbers. And like I said, I love Barbie. I have tons, and I buy them occasionally, but I like to enjoy them in private, if that makes sense. So I like to open them on my own time while I'm watching commercials or whatever. So that's not something that I want to do on social media, and sometimes I don't even photograph them. But I don't want to sell out and force myself to make something that is going to track numbers. So I get you 100% on that one.
Yeah, and I've learned that as well with social media, especially with YouTube. I make a point not to debox them on video because I want to actually keep a moment to myself. So in a lot of the videos, I I think I say it a lot of times. I don't even know what I say, but I think I say that I'm gonna unbox it off camera because I want to have that moment with a doll. I feel like I am sharing already so much by unboxing her on camera and then presenting her on camera that I feel that that moment of actually taking her out is personal, and I feel like there needs to be a level of sharing while still keeping it to yourself. And on the Barbie topic, so it doesn't seem like I'm a sellout. She's doing a lot better nowadays, so there's a few things that I've been purchasing it, but for me, a lot of the reasons why I've been purchasing her recently is because I feel like she's giving me fashions that I want to put on other people. And as my channel's been growing, I've definitely been focusing more on my fashion point of view with the dolls
Mhm.
and really kind of styling them. And Barbie's been giving me them looks. I want to stop and apologize if anyone hears a Dominican woman in the background because I've been hearing her loud and clear. So if you hear her on your end, I apologize.
I haven't heard her, but she's welcome to say hi anytime
Oh,
she.
okay. So she is on that phone and living her best life in this house.
As she should.
But yeah, I with Barbie recently, there's this like sliding scale of like, oh, you're getting better, but I'm not ready. And I'll do this fashion, but not the whole doll.
No, it's one step at a time, and just keep it authentic and keep it true to yourself. I know it's really corny, but it really is the way to go, especially
It's
when
true.
you're our age. It's like, oh, okay, I'm done with the high school BS. I want to do what I want to do. So, well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and letting me interview you so people can get to know you a little better. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Sal. It's been a pleasure for me as well. And I hope everyone, got to see me a little differently than just on YouTube or Instagram.
Unplugged.
Unplugged.
MTV Unplugged, live from TRL.
Live from TRL in Times Square.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And I hope to hear more from you and see your fabulous videos. So, yeah.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.